We have three significant news and developments relating to Asia and the world, particularly to countries identified with the third world. We will discuss first the $13.5 billion deals President Duterte has brought home from his visit to China. Second will be the BRICS summit in Goa, India. And the third item is South Africa begins to withdraw from the ICC, the International Criminal Court. This is, of course, very relevant because there are people in the Philippines talking about bringing issues to the ICC and the ICC's interference with the current affairs in the Philippines under President Duterte. Let's begin with the 13.5 billion in deals from China. Agriculture, telecommunication. I was especially happy to read that part of the deal is to speed up internet services in the Philippines, then, of course, infrastructure, trains, roads, and so on. What do you think, Ambassador? Is this reality or is this just propaganda to spruce up the justifications for the Duterte trip?
I would rather look at it as potentials, and I would like more to focus on infrastructure because there is, aside from the business aspect of it, there is something that could be useful for the region as it is and connecting the Philippines to the region. For example, President Duterte, of course, we know from the beginning, talked about inviting China to build railroad in Mindanao and these things. But talking about infrastructure, I would really look at not only what happened in Beijing during the trip of President Duterte, but what China has been promoting as the One Belt, One Road infrastructure, maritime infrastructure project in its Maritime Silk Road. Now, we are part of that, but we have not been mentioned at all for the simple reason of
the past 6 years.
Yes, we did not have very good relations. Yeah. But my take on that, if we could put things together, part of it, whatever may be the business deals in Beijing, that happened in Beijing, in relation to infrastructure, I would like to see a connection with the One Belt, One Road Maritime Silk Road of China, simply because we are part of the region and we are an archipelagic state that needs a lot of maritime infrastructure.
I think we'll have to stress that because I did not read anything about the One Belt, One Road during this visit because I think it's a more specialized topic and the President may not have had the time to bring this up.
Yeah, but excuse me. Having said that, however, what I would like to suggest further is if we look into the One Belt, One Road infrastructure regional project of China, I would also like to suggest that we do it on a regional master plan basis and jointly among participating countries so that the synergies in regard to the infrastructure and trade movements within the region can be maximized.
Okay. During the press conference of Ambassador Zhao at the Pandesal Forum, I mentioned that 9 out of 10 One Belt, One Road, New Silk Road maps that I've seen omits the Philippines in the routes. And he says, well, after the Duterte trip, he will personally redesign all these maps. I hope that really happens. And of course, I want to mention Vic Corpus's advocacy to make the Philippines the hub of the One Belt, One Road, connecting the Philippines to the western shoreline of the Americas, as in the old galleon trade. What can you add to our discussion on this matter, Professor Pitlo? Have you any ideas here?
Like what the good ambassador in Comienda mentioned, I think these deals presents a lot of opportunities for the Philippines. Infrastructure, for instance, we are underspending in this department, and for a developing country which needs to attract further investments and improve our industrial capacity, this is something that has to be addressed right away. And so this initiative of China, this Belt and Road undertaking, offers us a lot of opportunities. we are spending less than 2% of our GDP for infrastructure. This new administration promises to increase the spending to about 5 to 7% of GDP. And this is something being done across the region. And China is playing an important role in this aspect. If we will look at the Jakarta-Bandung Railway project,
Indonesia,
which will be the first of its kind, the first high-speed railway train in the region to be completed according to schedule 2019. And then China was also involved in the Tanjung Priok port, also in Jakarta, construction of Kuantan port in Malaysia. So Chinese investments in this sector is very crucial. And China had already made a lot of good progress, engineering wonders, like the soon-to-be completed Hong Kong-Macau-Zhuhai Bridge, which will reduce the travel time between these three locations from 3 hours to 30 minutes. So there's no question on financial capacity and technological capacity from China's side. So I think this gives us a lot of good area for cooperation.
I get some Facebook postings and we engage in debate knocking Chinese technology in railway. And I said, when you try to do that, you're really not knocking Chinese technology, because Chinese technology is a combination of the best German, Siemens,
Japanese,
Bombardier, Canadian, Kawasaki, Japanese, and so on. They've bought these technologies or acquired through joint ventures, and with their massive 20,000 kilometer experience of building them, has perfected the technology, has become the best, admittedly, by all rail building countries.
Can I say something in connection with what Professor Pitlo said and what we began talking about, a One Belt, One Road infrastructure project of China? I would like to connect the fact that President Duterte is planning to visit Russia. Now, I think it is unfair. It's not good to think that President Duterte's going to China is part of a political or geopolitical move. It could be, but the way I see it, connecting it to the One Belt, One Road infrastructure project of China, if we talk to Russia, we would have an access from Vladivostok down to the Pacific seaboard ports of China, down to the Philippines and Indonesia. I thought that if we can complement this One Belt, One Road along that line, in addition to what Vic Corpus said about the connection to South America, I think we would be playing into also what President Duterte is trying to do, bring the focus of the country to the region rather than specific countries. Thank you.
That's right. Well, that will require a whole program to discuss and elaborate, which we will do one day. And the second item, which I will just briefly go through, because the third item is, I think, more relevant to real current events here in the Philippines. BRICS has been meeting or has had the summit in Goa, India. That is, of course, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. I think the significance of this to me is that despite the destabilization in a way in Brazil with the transition from Dilma Rousseff to President Temer, under tumultuous conditions, Brazil continues to participate in BRICS. Likewise, South Africa charges against the president there for corruption and so on, yet South Africa stays. The BRICS seems to be a durable alignment of nations that are outside of the ambit of the U.S. hegemony. Anything to add quickly before we go to the third item?
I defer to the professor.
Anything?
Well, I think BRICS is living up to a lot of expectation to provide an alternative platform for developing and emerging economies.
Isn't Duterte's announced openness to China, Russia, a step towards closer relations with BRICS?
That is what I tried to project in my previous statement. If I may repeat, just to be very clear about it, when President Duterte announced a visit to China, Japan, and Russia, it seems like he was speaking at specific countries. No, I think he is really going to, this is my view, of course, trying to reorient the Philippines more to regional alignments. Of course, South Korea is there, Japan is there, but our interactions with these two countries, whether economic or political, is already matured.
Okay.
What we are coming into now is, as you said, more of the BRICS type of alignment.
Yes. Well, we have 1 minute, but we'll ask for 1 or 2 minutes extension because this is important. South Africa begins process to withdraw from the ICC, according to the Justice Minister of South Africa. What is the ICC? That is the International Criminal Court. Some lawyers here are proud to be part of the ICC. To me, that is a mark of shame because ICC has been identified by African countries as a tool of neocolonialism, selective justice against third world leaders that do not kowtow to some superpowers. And you were mentioning recently some comments from ICC about our president.
My take on that really is more on the how we develop international relations, especially along lines of establishing supranational authority. Our first experience there, of course, has to do with the International Permanent Court of Arbitration, which is a supranational play.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't like what I see happen there, but relating this to the ICC experience, again, that is another area we have to be very careful about. And this wariness that I'm talking about has in fact been highlighted by statements of the head of the ICC, practically telling a sovereign country,
The Philippines.
warning a sovereign country. I don't know if this is the wave of the supranational future countries are looking at, but this is never how it is done in international relations.
Well, I think the supranational institutions like that are beginning to find some discredit among a lot of people. For example, both the PCA and this ICC are not UN judicial institutions, but they make it appear by silence that they are.
Yes.
You know? And then the Permanent Court of Arbitration is neither permanent nor a court, nor in the case of the issues recently, did they arbitrate because there was only one party. So, Professor Pitlo.
I think just like Ambassador Encomienda mentioned, there is some hesitancy about full participation in the ICC given this image that interference in domestic affairs may be something that could happen later on, and potentially adverse consequence of joining such a supranational judicial authority.
Right. Anything to
Yes, I would like to
add?
Yes, okay. Going to the ICC, having seen our experience with the PCA, and of course that is still some development to wait for, whether it's good for us or not. PCA, I mean, I would really suggest that to just nip this creeping supranational, which is not in our favor, this creeping supranational direction, we have to withdraw from the ICC now.
That's right.
Let's put it this way. I fully agree with what Professor Pitlo says, that it has become a tool for interventions.
That's right.
And this is the very big issue that big powers are bearing on President Duterte. I don't like it myself.
Yeah. Well, we're a bit over time, but let me just add, this is very important. None of the major powers are part of the ICC nor the PCA.
At least the U.S.
U.S. is not part of it in both.
No.
UNCLOS,
yes.
I'm sorry. Neither is Russia, neither, China is part of the UNCLOS and so on. But yeah, that's a caveat for everybody. Okay, let's take this final break and into our main segment later on.